All right, guys, it is Tuesday, August 15th, 2023. So I'm getting ready to get my day started here. I got a mess. I didn't even pick up tools last night. I just kind of shoved everything in the garage door and closed it and called it a day. So I got to put up a bunch of tools and then get more out. Still got a lot of stuff to do to that chassis, so I'm going to get started. Alright guys, so I laid on some weld through primer really heavy up in there, and try to lay it really thick down in that edge so it'd run down in there. But anyway, I weld through primed both sides after I blasted them. I blew it out and then wiped it down. Anyway, this is the back side of the custom plates I made. I had to, you know, kind of roll the edges a little bit so they kind of roll over and I can put a weld right here. But anyway, I got that stuff on so thick it kind of ran a little bit, but it'll be all right. You won't be able to see it anyway. The idea behind this is this little pocket right here. The frame's upside down, but when it's right side up, stuff gets built up in here really heavy, and big rocks can land in here. And just in case he's driving down the highway, you know, full speed, and he hits a big bump or a pothole or something, it might jar one of the big rocks out of there and it might bust somebody's windshield that's behind him or something. I mean, I'm just basically going to do it to keep debris from getting in there. It has a drain hole in it and stuff, but it's still going to drain out here and still going to drain here if it gets water, you know, from driving in the rain or whatever. But these have pretty large drain holes on the bottom of them, so these will be pretty good to go. But those are just a good source of you know, holding debris in there, rocks and stuff like that. And Steve lives out in the country and he has a pretty long gravel driveway, so you know, if he lived in the city, I wouldn't have bothered doing that at all. But anyway, I did it. So as soon as this stuff dries a little bit, I'm gonna put these plates on. So I can remember which side's which here. So I'm gonna put a little slight bend in that end right there, and this will pretty much go on there like that. And I'm not gonna fully weld this. I'm gonna put some stitches on here that are like I don't know, 1/2 inch long little stitches, just a little ways apart each, just enough so it's held on there, and you know, pretty much on all 4 sides, but it'll still drain out of here and drain out of here. But it's just a rock shield, gravel shield, whatever you want to call it. But it didn't take that long to do. All right, got it all welded up there. I haven't done the top. I'm going to wait until the frame's flipped over because I got more stuff to do on the top side. But I want to finish all the bottom first. But anyway, I'm not going to bother with going in and trying to fully stitch it all in. It's not structural, it's just a gravel shield or rock shield basically. And I mean, it kind of matches the way the frame's put together anyway, you know what I mean? The factory has some pretty crappy welds, but they didn't fully weld these 2-piece chassis anyway. There's a stitch there, stitch there, stitch there, stitch there. You get the idea. Anyway, both sides is pretty much done except the top, but that'll work, man. So I got the muffler bracket remnants off here. Those 2 holes are from the bolts that they had in those other exhaust holder things. But anyway, the frame had a pretty big indent in it right there from when they folded that bracket back. It kicked the center in, so I used a punch through a hole in the side of the frame over there and knocked it back out, and then dollied it out or flattened it off. It's not perfect, but it's better than a big old dent in there. And then I got this transmission mount removed except the top. Again, I need to flip the frame over. I've got some really bad thin spot right here, and this is pretty thin too, so I was going to go in and weld this little spot here up. This is not a crack or anything, it's just from the factory weld going across there. But I was going to go in and add some weld to that and then go back and grind it smooth. But I think probably, as thin as this is right here, it's really thin right here in this spot here. That transmission mount had a bunch of crap stuck down in here. This is the chassis upside down, so this bottom corner back here had a bunch of stuff packed in it. So it got wet and just rotted it. So I think this needs to be cut out, maybe all of this. So I may go ahead and cut this out and replace it. I've got a sheet and I've got remnants and cut-offs of the same gauge thickness of this frame. I'm not sure exactly what gauge it is, but I have the exact same thickness of stuff in there, and that's what I've been using. That's what I used on that patch up there. Anyway, I got the pivot removed. When I air hammered it off, I drilled the spot welds out the best I could, and then I air hammered it off and hammered on it. And this part right here, it knocked a hole out because there was a little bit of metal left, so it just made a hole. So I went back in and welded it and ground it. But looks pretty good. So I'm gonna have to do a little patchwork right here, because I'm not going to leave that thin right there. I'm just going to go ahead and fix it, you know what I mean? And then this side I've got to finish grinding this crap off. It sucks. I got to sit there with a grinding stone on the grinder and go through and grind that down, and it just takes forever. It took a long time to get this one removed, but you're not going to be able to tell anything was there, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, I used every bit of my grinding stone. I ain't got nothing left, so I'm going to have to go get a grinding stone. But I'm going to have to get a little pack of 1/4x20 square nuts too, because I checked both of these tabs for the lower splash apron on both sides, and the bolt will not tighten up. It's stripped out. So I'm going to use a step bit. Once I flip it over, I'm going to use a step bit and open that hole up a little bit, and then I'm going to take a flapper wheel and grind that flat on the top, because it has metal pulled on the top. I don't know if that'll show up in the camera or not. I can't see it. Anyway, it has a raised metal, so I'll flatten that off, and then I'll take a bolt and stick through there, and I'll run that square nut up on there and tighten it down to where it's straight, and then I'll stitch the sides of the square nut on there, so the splash shields will bolt on with 1/4x20 bolts instead of stripped out factory coarse thread screws. So I think it's about, I don't know, 3 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call it a day, because I probably ought to try to mow my yard, but my lawnmower would not start a couple days ago, so I'm going to have to do some work on it. So I'm going to go ahead and put up shop and quit for the day. Thanks for watching.